Season 43, War number 5, and we are up against LVT. And this time my team is going to be Tigra, Silk and Shuri. I will be taking path 1 in section 1, along with that man thing there on the shared fight. Then I'm taking path 2 in section 2, along with that Jessica Jones on the buffet node once again. And for the boss island, I will be taking that Attuma on the Conflictor miniboss node, Mangog on 54, and finally that Photon boss. And yes, that is a rank 5 Photon boss. And well, that's gonna be an interesting one, for sure. Up first we have a spot on the personal space regeneration node, and I'm taking this fight with Shuri. I have taken this fight before with Silk, but learning from my past mistakes, using Silk on a regen heavy fight, which also has the Indomitable node, might not be the best idea, so I decided to go with Shuri instead. Shuri can completely shut down the healing with Despair Mastery, so if for whatever reason it gets out of hand, there is nothing for me to worry about. The actual game plan is to just spam my special ones to get those guaranteed crits, use those to nuke him down. The shocks as well as the passive shocks will help along the way, but most of the damage will come from those big basic attack crits that Shuri gets. I will do my best to manage spots, but as we can see here, he has already triggered the untouchable twice, but that's just how the fight goes sometimes. You get bad luck with the spot RNG, there's not much you can do about it. The fight went down relatively easily, but I did take some chip damage from the ruptures when I triggered the untouchable there. All in all, it was a simple fight. Then we have an Apocalypse here on the Masochism Overtime node, and I'm taking this fight with Tigra. And this one is basically as simple of a Tigra fight as it gets. Apocalypse is actually the first opponent who I learned to fight with Tigra. That was, or his release was the time I kinda got around to using her a bunch, so the spacing for the special one is basically ingrained in my brain at this point. All I needed to do here is to just get to my special 2 with some ruptures on the opponent, throw it, I get enough power to chain in my special 1, and that finishes the fight. Tigra just completely shuts this down. The regen from Masochism there is a buff, so Neutralize completely prevents it, and there's absolutely nothing to worry about. Following that theme here, we have a man thing on the personal space regeneration, along with some placebos, etc. And the idea here is to just use Tigra, use the Neutralize to completely shut down all the buffs from the nodes, as well as from man thing's own abilities, and this fight becomes very simple. Now, the start wasn't great. I did get a pustule buff on me as well as a placebo, but those fell off without actually getting nullified, luckily, so I didn't take any poison damage. The fight at this point is over. Failing all of those buffs on man thing constantly feeds Tigra some power due to the Huntress sense she has active, so I was able to chain those special 2s quite quickly back to back. Then we have another Jessica Jones here on the buffet overtime node, and I'm taking this fight with Silk yet again. And the game plan is the same as previously. I'm just gonna be nuking her down with some special 2s, keeping her cornered so I can keep the slow debuff up so that the unstoppable is not a problem. And when it comes to the buffet node, it will simply never trigger because Silk does not gain the precision buff from the dexterity mastery. That basically makes Silk one of the best options for this fight, as she completely shuts down everything that Jessica here does. The biggest annoyance here is the heal reversal she can do with enough debuffs on you, but it doesn't really come into play in this fight at all. That said, she's also pretty tanky, so the fight takes a little bit longer than normal Silk fights would, but that's fine. I'm still at full health, all I need to do is just hit her a few more times and the fight is over. Here I could have finished the fight by throwing my special 2 but for whatever reason I decided I want to finish this fight at a full yellow bar, and the regen reversal would have made it so that wasn't possible. So instead I'm just hitting her with some basic attacks, trying to get her down the rest of the way. I'm not using my special 3 to not waste some time. I should have just done it and been done with it, but yeah, honestly I'm not sure why I'm doing what I'm doing here, but it ends exactly how I deserved it to end. I messed up an intercept, I did not finish the fight at full health, I actually have to use a potion now because of it. It just goes to show that you don't need to do anything special in war, just make sure you finish your fights and that's all there is to it. If you have to use a potion here and there, then do that, but don't try to do anything stupid like that, it's usually not worth it. Then we have a Mordo here on the personal space placebo node, and I'm taking the fight with Tigra. And the reason I chose Tigra instead of Silk here is because Tigra's double medium bypasses Mordo's astral evade. You don't actually get the counter hit or the degen from it, so you can easily get your openings by simply parrying him. Other than that, the neutralize shuts down the placebo buffs as well as Mordo's power gain, so the fight becomes very simple. That said, the fury buff from the node whenever you knock down the defender is unaffected by ability accuracy, so that will still get past the neutralize. It gives you a slight bit of more damage, but it also feeds MD whenever they expire, so yeah, it's not great, but if you can manage Mordo's power just fine, it's not an issue. Now I did mess this fight up a little bit by accidentally getting to my special 3, and I just used my special 2 earlier before I got there. The fight would have been over like 30 seconds ago, but all it did was make the fight a little bit longer, wasting our fight time, but there was no risk of dying there. Tigra works very well for it. And next up we have a Domino on the personal space placebo and EMP modifications nodes, and I'm taking this fight with Shuri. And she is essentially the perfect option for this fight. She's immune to shock, so the EMP mod node will not do anything unless you get comboed for some reason. Because the node also allows the defender to deal some extra energy damage whenever you get hit based on how many charges they have. So yeah, even if you use a shock immune here, you do not want to get hit. Other than that, Shuri completely shuts down Domino's kit. You can't lower her ability accuracy and she has no chance-based abilities, so critical fail will never happen. That along with her perfect blocks and great damage output makes this fight extremely easy. And to top it off, her special 1, or rather any of her specials, cannot be evaded either, so even if Domino is lucky, you are free to use them as you please. Then we have an Attuma here on the Conflictor miniboss node, and I'm taking the fight with Shuri. And I do have the White Magneto pre-fight here to help me out. The game plan was to go for parry heavies every so often to keep that armor buff active so I can keep removing any and all prowesses Attuma gets from shrugging off the shocks due to the Conflictor node. Other than that, the plan is the same as usual with Shuri. Spam special 1s for those guaranteed crits as well as the critical shocks. But in this node I am gonna try to alternate my hits as best as I can, so that I wouldn't be triggering too many prowesses on him. But now that I look back at this fight, that wasn't necessary. He would be triggering those prowesses anyways due to me landing these guaranteed crits, so essentially all I'm doing is just wasting a slight bit of time and damage. But that said, this fight is very simple with Shuri. She doesn't take any of the Thorn's damage, because to take the damage you need to actually make contact with Attuma. And none of Shuri's attacks make any contact, making her one of the best, if not the best, option for any Attuma basically anywhere. Though there are some nodes that she can take, such as the hazard shift nodes. Fight went down, very simple. I was actually slightly worried about it before going in, but it turned out that I was worrying about nothing. Then we have yet another Mangog here on node 54, the Aspect of Evolution miniboss node, and I'm taking the fight with Silk yet again. The game plan here is the same as usual. I'm gonna be relying on the invulnerability boost, eating Mangog special 3s whenever necessary, and then just nuking him down as quickly as I can. Now I did also have Odin's protection pre-fight here, which does not help me at all for this fight. It's here for the boss fight, because yes, I will be taking Photon with Silk, but more on that in a bit. So the game plan here is to just push Mangog to his special 3s constantly, eat them with the indestructible, rather the invulnerability boost, and then just using the power gained from that, getting to my own special 3, using that to nuke him down as quickly as possible, repeating the process if necessary, and then that's about it. But in this case I did screw up at the start here. I ate a random heavy attack. I'm not sure why I was too slow trying to dex it, but I was, and that consumed one of the invulnerability boost hits. So after that I can only eat 2 more hits or 2 more special 3s before I'm in trouble. Luckily in this fight you only ever need to eat 2 special 3s at most, sometimes only 1, and you're good to go, so there is nothing to worry about just yet. If I were to start eating more hits, then things would be a little bit different. I get them a special 3 again here, so all I need to do is just throw it, then go for a couple combos here, and the fight is done. Unfortunately, eating that heavy means that I do need to use a potion or 2, but other than that, this fight went pretty well. But yeah, next time I'm taking this, I'm definitely gonna be watching out for that heavy. I guess it's a little bit faster than I remembered. Just quickly gonna heal up and wait for a White Magneto pre-fight to be placed on the boss, and then on to the main event. Then we have the final fight of this war, a rank 5 Photon boss that I'm gonna be taking with Silk. And I was very worried about this fight. It took me quite a while to try to think of any counters here, but basically all of them were shut down by the steady build up unblockable node, which I don't think is even supposed to be on the boss node this season. The node increases the defender's defensive ability accuracy by 100%, meaning that champions like Falcon or Mantis, Kingpin, any of those, they cannot prevent the debuffs from applying with their defensive ability accuracy or debuff ability accuracy reductions. That means there is no way to not gain any debuffs in this fight, which then means she will be fully unblockable the entire fight. That paired with the fact that you cannot dex her specials while she's in her pure light form, at least under normal circumstances, means that you basically just have to eat them. There's nothing you can do about it. Essentially, the only option I have seen so far that can take this boss is a ramped up Hercules with basically full recoil setup and all of that. And this defense setup from LVT was set up in a very good way to counter Hercules. He basically did not have any safe ramp up fights, meaning he would have gone to this fight without any ramp up. And I thought that was a little bit too risky, so I was reminded by a video from MSD showing that Silk can actually dex Photon specials even while the pure light form is active, so that gave me an idea. Silk would be a safer option than anyone else due to her ability to actually avoid the specials, but there is also an issue with that. The boss node has the stun immune node, so Silk's damage output suffers a ton. If she can't charge her heavy attack to stun the opponent, she can gain that passive fury, and her damage output is less than ideal for a boss fight. To compensate for that, I redid my entire mastery tree. I put on full assassin. I maxed out dexterity so that she would have a higher crit rate due to her abilities, and basically I just made sure I would have the damage to take this fight in the full 5 minutes. But as we can see, it's not looking too good. I have less than 2.5 minutes left, and just now I got Photon to under 50%. So I really gotta start rushing this to get it done. Now to prepare for this fight, I did duels against my own Photon that I grinded for using a 3-star silk, and I kept doing duels until I could get a 500 combo on the defender without getting touched once. Only and only after that I thought that I was ready to take this without getting clipped over and over and dying because of it. Even then, I kept making the same mistake over and over again. I tried to punish her special too, while her pure light form was active, fully knowing that she will be untouchable afterwards. And yeah, that was a very close call there. Had she landed even a single crit there, I'm pretty sure I would have died, so I did get extremely lucky. Even though the fight itself has been pretty good so far, I haven't actually relied on the auto evade even once, so all of my dexes have been on point for both of her specials. But yeah, just making the same mistake over and over, that definitely should have cost me here. I'm just lucky that it didn't. Under a minute left on the clock, and Photon is still at almost 20%, but now she's finally in Assassin's range, so my damage output is gonna get a lot better. And that said, all of those physical resistance buffs she has gained throughout the fight definitely hurt my damage output here, but as long as I don't mess up here at the last minute, this fight is mine, and I do get the full solo with a special one finish. It wasn't clean, but that was a perfect combo to finish on. Now that may have been a successful fight, but I am not doing that again. As for the results, we unfortunately did end up losing the war 3-4. This war was definitely a whole lot better than our previous wars, but it just wasn't enough. LVT played really well, and they did take the win there, and deservedly so. Now, despite the result, I am happy that we are finally turning this season around and actually starting to get some proper wars. So hopefully we will continue that way.